It was supposed to be the happiest day of her life. Amelia stood beneath the grand white arch adorned with roses and silk ribbons, her hands trembling slightly beneath the weight of her bridal bouquet. The chapel, nestled among the Virginia hills, was packed with family, friends, and guests waiting in breathless anticipation. The sunlight filtered through the stained glass windows, casting a kaleidoscope of colors over her satin gown. Her heart pounded, not from nerves, but from joy. She had loved Daniel for 5 years, through college exams, career moves, and countless late-night calls when they were apart. Today was the culmination of that love. Today, she would finally become his wife. But as the music swelled and the doors at the far end of the chapel opened, it wasn't Daniel walking toward her. It was silence. A murmur rippled through the guests. Whispers, glances, confusion. Then her maid of honor, Claire, rushed down the aisle, her face pale. She leaned in and whispered something Amelia couldn't believe. "Daniel's gone. He left a note. He's not coming." The world tilted. Gone. Amelia's hands dropped to her sides. The bouquet hit the ground with a soft thud. She didn't cry. Not immediately. She just stared at the empty aisle, her breath caught somewhere between shock and disbelief. Guests stood frozen in their seats, unsure whether to move, speak, or stay seated in silence. Her father approached, trembling with rage and sorrow, ready to lead her away. But before he could reach her, another figure stood up from the front pew. Julian Carter. Daniel's older brother. The billionaire. He had always been quiet around Amelia, polite, respectful, often serious. Daniel once joked that Julian had a heart too tied to business deals to understand love. But today, Julian's face looked different. There was no trace of the cold executive in his eyes. Only something raw. Protective. Sincere. He stepped onto the altar. "Amelia," he said gently, his voice clear, cutting through the thick silence, "you shouldn't be humiliated for loving someone with your whole heart. You don't deserve to be abandoned. Not today. Not ever." She blinked, unsure if she was dreaming, unsure if her legs would hold her upright much longer. Julian turned to the stunned crowd. "My brother made a mistake. But I won't let that mistake define her moment." And then he looked at her again. "I know this isn't how you imagined your day. But I have known you for years, Amelia. I've watched the way you light up a room, the way you love deeply, care selflessly, and give even when you have nothing left. I've watched my brother take you for granted, and I've regretted every second I stayed silent." Her lips parted, but no words came. He stepped closer. "If you'll have me, Amelia, I'll take those vows. Not for tradition. Not to save face. But because I've fallen in love with you quietly for a long time. And I can't watch you walk away alone." A collective gasp swept through the chapel. Her mother wept softly in the front row. Even Claire was crying now. It was madness. Impossible. It should have felt wrong. But it didn't. Because in Julian's eyes, she saw no pity. Only truth. Steadfast and unshakable. Amelia didn't answer with words. She simply nodded, tears now streaking down her cheeks, not from sorrow but something closer to hope, fragile, but real. The priest, stunned, but recovering his composure, asked the question again, this time to Julian. "Do you, Julian Carter, take this woman?" "I do," he said, without hesitation. And when Amelia finally said, "I do," in return, a wave of applause erupted, tentative at first, then building like a rising tide. The reception was quiet at first. People didn't know how to act, how to celebrate what felt like 2 different weddings and 1 broken promise. But Julian never left Amelia's side. He held her hand as if he'd done it 1,000 times. He whispered kind, calming things into her ear. He made her laugh when her chest was still aching. And by the end of the night, she wasn't thinking of Daniel. Not once. Weeks passed. What had started as an impulsive act of courage turned into something steady, honest, and extraordinary. Julian didn't treat her like porcelain or a project to be managed. He cherished her, listened to her dreams, asked about her past, and invited her into his world without reservation. And when Amelia finally asked him, one evening under the soft glow of a setting sun, why he did it, why he stepped in that day, Julian simply took her hands in his and said, "Because I knew someone would have to catch you when you fell. And I realized I was hoping it would always be me." The story of their wedding went viral. People called it a fairy tale. But to Amelia, it wasn't about the glitz or headlines. It was about one moment of courage. One man who chose compassion over pride. And one woman who, though abandoned, chose to stand tall, and found love in the most unexpected of places. Her life wasn't perfect. But it was real. And it was filled with more love than she ever dreamed. Because sometimes, when the wrong person walks away, it's only to make space for the right one to step forward, and change your life forever.